All right, folks. This is Dustin Moret, and joining me is going to be Liquid adreN. And of course, this is going on his YouTube, so you already know who adreN is. You're probably like, who the heck is this nerd, like, talking on adreN's YouTube channel right now? But basically, I am a commentator for CS, and I used to do this show called The Hype, where I interviewed players. I think I interviewed you twice when I used to do that show, back when you used to play
Yeah,
for I
definitely
Power.
once.
I'm,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was twice, like episode 2 and 4. I think it's weird. I remember
Oh,
that.
really?
Anyway,
Damn.
yeah,
Starting it off.
because I interviewed you before you went to an event, and then like after the event was over, your team won the event, and then I like interviewed you again after the event, was something like that. Anyway, point is like you may have seen that like way long ago. That's probably like a year and a half ago or something like that. But I recently kind of brought it back in a much shorter version. Like the things used to last like 2 hours, but this shouldn't
Yeah, you
last
know, I
that
love
long.
talking.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. But I did Hayes from CLG, and it's basically this is just like a pre-Cluj interview. I mean, we have 3 NA teams going to the major this time, and I wanted to kind of preview those teams before they go to the event. So pretty much everything I'll ask is focused on the very recent, times, not anything of the two, distant past. But where I will start off with this interview, adreN, I think this is like the easiest way to pick it up, is just talking about you picking up Hiko, because obviously this is pretty recent roster move for you guys, right? Last couple of months, basically. And it's had a huge impact on your team in one way or another. So I would just want to say, first of all, like, how did this process go of picking up Hiko? What triggered this decision to bring him on board, so to speak?
So it really came down to we needed a player with a ton of experience, like a super solid, consistent rock, so that you can always know that that person's gonna perform. It's kind of weird not seeing you. Just like talking if I monitor.
Yeah, just
Um,
deal with it.
but but yeah, so that we can let like the younger players like start to grow, you know what I mean? So like even if the younger players like make mistakes, you always have this very solid rock on your team that can really like improve the team's consistency and whatnot. And with Spencer like and Hiko, he obviously brings that. Like he has so much experience that I think that's really what the team needed was another experienced player to really like solidify our consistency.
So I guess if I were to ask you, like, what's the biggest impact Hiko has had on the team, you would just tell me the experience he brings and the consistency he brings, or is there anything else you feel that he really just, adds to the team that has allowed you to kind of make this turnaround in your recent results?
Yeah, I think he just like allows everyone else to play their role better. You know what I mean? Like when we put Hiko on a site to anchor it, we put so much faith in him to actually hold that the rest of us can run around, grab information, and do so much more while Hiko's just holding down his spot. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it provides so much to us on CT side, being able to rotate more, just be more mobile for like Nick and Alige or Nitro and Alige to be able to run around and make those frags. And as well on T side, he's not our hard lurk right now, but in some of the maps there's kind of like two lurks, so he might be in some lurking spots like Cash. He'll be Squeaky Door.
Right.
Um, like we know that he's causing a lot of chaos at the other side of the site and providing us with a lot more room to work with when
Right.
going into strats.
So I realized that it wasn't so long ago that you had tried picking up Hiko a previous time, where it was actually going to be a package deal with Skadoodle. That was, I guess, back in May or April or something like that. So I mean, it was a pretty long ways off. It didn't work out. He winds up playing for Nottingham for a little while. Is there ever like a snide comment to Hiko, like, "Hey man, we could have did this like 5 months ago"? That's Skadoodle too. I mean, how did that? I mean, it seems like it would have been a bit awkward,
Yeah.
right? That you had already tried this, it didn't work out, and then all of a sudden now he finally gives in. I mean, was there any ever discussion about that, or you just kind of let bygones be bygones?
Yeah, I don't think we really talked about it too much. We were like, yeah, that's, I mean, we could have done this like 6 months ago and been way more successful then, but, uh, I don't know. It is what it is. And I think we're good now, you know?
Right, I hear you. So, basically, I'll pick up with one of the first events that you guys played at when you picked up Hiko, which is basically the qualifier for the PGL Finals. There was a North American qualifier where like one spot was up for grabs for that 4-team event that we saw.
Hmm.
And during this event, you started off, I guess, slow. You lost to CLG again. I say again because you had lost to him at the Cologne qualifiers in SIVA Season 7. But like obviously that was prior to Hiko joining the team. It was a decent series, but you know you lost that series. But then you come back and you beat CLG 3-2 in a best of 5, and then of course you win the event by beating Luminosity. I guess technically 3-1. You only played 4 maps, but they had like a 1-map advantage, so it was 3-2 technically.
Yeah.
Point is they're seen during this tournament, and like Sadakis was casting it, and so he noted it, and we talk. And I noted it just by watching it, that something just happened in the middle of this tournament where, like, you look like a completely different team within the matter of a couple of days. I mean, what happened here? I mean, what finally clicked that turned things around, do you think?
Yeah, it was actually very awkward at first. Like, we weren't doing that well with Spencer. Like, we were playing and just playing scrims and whatnot. We were like having really tough time, even against like X Elevate, a team that like at the time back then, like they're way better now. I feel like they're actually a very like good team right now in NA, but they were just like dominating us in scrims. We were like, I don't even know what's going on. Everyone was like kind of laughing because we were getting destroyed by like these teams that shouldn't be destroying us, right? So we lost against CLG, and I think it was like a weekend event maybe. I'm not sure, but yeah, we just played CLG and just things out of nowhere just started to click for us, and we beat them. It was actually a very good series. I think it went to all 5 maps,
Yeah, it did.
and yeah. So I don't know if it was like the experience that we got from that BO3 or BO5 that like really kind of brought it together for us, but everything out of nowhere just started to click for us. It's not like we changed anything like specifically. Maybe just like getting us in a match environment made us like play more serious and like really play to our potential. Because before that with Spencer, it was only us playing scrims, trying to practice, and then the one BO3 against COG that we lost, right? So I don't know if it was just like we needed to actually play together under a match environment to really get the feel and really try together as a team. But after that, yeah, it just clicked. Like we beat Luminosity actually took us to overtime in the first BO5, the first map, and then we won 3 maps in a row, like pretty convincingly, which was awesome. So
Yeah, including beating them on like their home map Mirage, which is a map that historically you guys weren't necessarily the best on, and it always had been a big map for them. So it looked really impressive to watch this series, and that's why I wanted to ask you about it, just what you thought. Now, skipping forward just only a brief amount, you guys played in the iBuyPowerfall Invitational, which I casted over there with Sivo. And in this, you beat CLG again, so you 2-0'd them this time. Pretty convincing wins this time around. There was no like overtimes or losses involved. You pretty much cleaned it up. And then you beat Luminosity 2-1. You lost an Inferno in overtime, which had always been kind of a weaker map for you guys, I guess. Then you went on to win Cash and Overpass with, you know, not too much trouble.
right.
What do you think, like, because in the past CLG was kind of beating up on you guys a lot, like between SIVO Season 7 and the Cologne qualifiers and the first time you played them in PGL. They seem to kind of have your number. What do you think kind of happened here that has begun to give you an edge over teams like this? Because I mean, you've really kind of solidified yourself, at least on NA results, to be, you know, fighting for number 1 against Cloud9 these days. So I mean, what do you think has happened here to give you this edge, head to head?
We're super nuts online. No, I don't know. um, Yeah, like CLG has never even been that nuts online if we think about it. Like last CEVO season, they didn't even qualify for the playoffs. Like they were, I think, 5th seed, and the only reason they got to CEVO was because 2 European teams actually backed out, right? So I think they invited like 4th and 5th seed, and they ended up going to CEVO land like playing super well. And I think this was in the transition where they switched callers. So
Yep.
I think we got like for that month, I think we got caught off guard on how they were actually like playing their game, right? I think they approached their T sides a lot differently. I think their CD sides are pretty much the same, but they approached their T sides a lot differently than they did in the past. And I think for that month they just like we weren't ready for it, and like we didn't adapt fast enough to them, and like we played like shit obviously as well. But I think now that like we've had a bit more time to prepare against them and like understand how they're playing now on their T sides, that I think it just goes back to us like, you know, finally figuring out how to beat them, and we just keep doing it now.
So another like part of this is the fact that when Luminosity first came to North America, I guess maybe they were underneath a different name at that time, like Heat Stars. I think they still were sponsored by that first like season of like the combined ESL ESEA Pro League. that first season, I think they came second in the rankings, and they had like a ridiculous record, and they seemed to be
Yeah.
like beating up on most North American teams. I think he split mats with them at this time, but now all of a sudden it seems like you and CLG are having no problems dealing with them. What do you
I
think?
think it might be like, yeah, sorry for cutting you off there, but I think it's almost the same scenario what I just said about CLG, right? Like we've gotten comfortable playing against them. We know their weaknesses. We know how they like to play. And now it's just like since they haven't changed their style, I think it's very easy for me to read their CT side setups and T side setups that, you know, it's not like they're an unknown like quantity now. Like we don't know what they're gonna do when they first came over to the States, right? So I think everyone has just so much more practice against them that like that's why they're losing a lot more now. But yeah, is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think when they switched Fallen to opping, I feel like he's been one of the best oppers in our region at this point, like the way he's been performing with it. I think Cold's been a great pickup for them. I think one of the criticisms they used to get was like they didn't have enough firepower, like it was all fur, and they didn't have
Right.
enough, even though they were very tactically gifted and they played well as a team, they just didn't have enough firepower to beat like elite level teams. But I feel like Cold has added to that firepower very well, and I think Fallen's op has also added to it pretty well here recently. But for whatever reason, I feel like in your case, it's just your team has gotten so much better rather than them declining. But even CLG now is able to beat them, and I think CLG has also gotten better with Cutler calling. So maybe it's
Yeah,
just an
it's
instance
probably
where
like
you guys have
both.
surpassed them. Yeah, like a combination
Yeah,
of both.
it's
Makes
probably
sense.
like yeah, us improving and us just getting more comfortable playing against them. Honestly, I thought they're even though Cold is actually performing pretty well for them. I don't know. I just thought they were better with ZQK.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they definitely were having better results, but I mean, they're still hitting top 8 in majors with both lineups.
Yeah.
I guess this their
I
NA
really
result.
think this is like this major is their test, right?
Yeah, of course.
They have like the easiest group out of the major, so they definitely have a chance of getting top 8 again if they beat Cloud9 or Vexed, depending on who like goes through or whatnot. But um, yeah, I think this is a test because I feel like just these last couple months is when they've been really going downhill in NA. Like they didn't qualify for Face It, and actually they didn't qualify for Face It last time either. So they haven't never been in Face It, I don't think, which is
That's true.
awkward that like they've never qualified for that.
Yeah, they swept pretty
Um,
well through SIVO. They didn't
they
seem.
did, yeah, yeah.
Um, Granted, yeah, I mean they lost to you guys, which was like you're their major competition in that league. Besides CLG, which I can't remember what the result was against CLG. It was either like a winner or a tie. I can't remember, but yeah, this will be interesting to see how that works out because I wouldn't say it's the easiest group, but it's a manageable one, right? Like I know
Right,
Cloud9's
yeah.
quite good. Fnatic obviously is a powerhouse, but
They'll still have to be like a very good team to
yeah,
get through.
yeah, yeah, it's very
Exactly.
true. And with best of ones, who knows, right?
Exactly.
So now we'll talk about your actual qualification process for Cluj, which was going to DreamHack Stockholm
hmm
and playing in that tournament. Where you first off you played Renegades there. First off, when you played in the first series, we'll just talk through this tournament. 'Cause I think this is a pretty important one. You lost Cobble 14-16 when you came back and won Overpass and Cash. Huge T sides on these maps. 13 rounds on Terrace side Overpass and 12 Terrace rounds on Cash. I always thought of you guys as a CT sided team on a Cash, where like most of your rounds came from the CT side in the past, and
hmm
now it seems like Nitro just goes nuts on T side Cash nowadays.
Yeah.
Tell me about this series. I mean, how did you feel this one went the first time you played Renegades, if you can remember it?
Yeah, so like at this point, like our cobble wasn't like that good as it is now, I guess. So we're like just adopting the map. It's like, hey, we're like we kind of like this. We're getting some
Yeah,
good
you
results
used to
on it.
veto it a lot,
They
actually.
used to be like our number one veto, yeah. So it's very like it's we're very comfortable on it now, and we'll play it anytime we want. So at that time, we were still kind of working through, and I think this is after like they nerfed the M4A1, right?
Yeah,
So I think everyone's CT sides were like a lot worse just because I think now it takes a lot more teamwork for CT sides because before you could just like hold down a site with the A1 yourself, just laser beam people, right? Not too much like coordination needed between like teammates. Now I think it's a lot more like you need to have good crossfires, you need to have good pop flashes from your teammates because the A4 it just like it's just not as good as a gun. You can't play by yourself and have these insane rounds like you could with the silencer. So I think that has one thing to do with it, just because we have really good aimers and they could just win battles with the A1 so easily. And now that they have the A4, it's a little bit tougher. So I think nowadays, you need to have better CT side setups in terms of like overall teamwork, right?
Right.
But yeah, we got caught off guard. Well, we didn't get caught off guard. Is like we didn't adapt the first time we played them on Cobble. Um, they're kind of like an execute heavy team, and we were giving them too much respect and letting them actually execute their strats. And I think like on a team like that, we just need to break up the executes before they even happen, and they won't know what to do in late rounds, right? So, and that's what we did the second time we played them. We really didn't give them any respect in terms of like, hey, we're not gonna let you throw your smokes or throw your flashes, and we're gonna get in your face and like stop you before your strategy even starts. And we changed up our CT sides a little bit different the second time as well, like with just more aggressive like teamwork stuff. So that's all I remember from Cobble.
I got you. So you went on to play Mouse after you beat Renegades in the first series 2-1, in which case you got beat, I think, on Cash. I think you lost 16-10, and then you lost on Cobble 16-9.
Hmm.
It was notable in this series that Elysia and Nitro were a bit more quiet in comparison to how they played against Renegades throughout this tournament. We'll get to that in a second. I guess my main point would be it's literally the same maps that you were successful on against Renegades, but now you're playing, I mean, a better team in Mouse Sports, sure. But why do you think you struggle to make that leap to being able to put up numbers? I mean, numbers on maps you're comfortable on. You know, you're
Right.
beating.
So
I mean, now you're struggling against Mouse. I mean, why do you think that was?
that actually, you just reminded me that we played the same two maps we just played against Renegades. Mouse Sports got to watch us on those exact same maps, like literally 10 minutes ago. Like, because we played them BO3, we won, and then we played them right after, right? And they got to watch us on those two maps, like fucking grill us on it. And they got to watch us sitting on a couch, and we just got done playing them, so obviously we can't change too much, but they get the overall gist of like how we wanted to work our CT sides, tendencies, stuff like that. So I honestly think that hurt us a lot. That they were able to all five sit down and just watch us previous like right before they play us, right, on the maps. I probably could have changed my veto process up, but we were so comfortable on the maps that actually got picked that I was okay with it. But all I remember on Cash was them playing super aggressive, super confident, like individually. Like I was kind of frustrated with how they were playing on Cash because Chris J, what like there's a smoke forklift at A, right? So you go out, forklift is smoke so you can cross into the site. And Chris J would run through the forklift smoke, or we'd throw like the right side smoke, the block off fence, and someone would just walk through the fence smoke. Like they were just walking through smokes, running through smokes, pop flashing themselves, like and individually fighting us. It was so frustrating to play against, and we punished them a lot, but it really broke down our attacks, and I think it was hard to deal with how individually and how
Hmm.
confident they're playing.
Well, I mean, you wound up getting
But
6 rounds on that terrace side, so it still wasn't terrible, but it was really on the
right.
CT side where you couldn't really. I mean, why do you think you struggled so much on the CT side against Mouse? You only got 4 rounds. That's how you lost the game. I mean,
Mhm.
anything there that you remember?
I don't really remember their T side too much. I just don't think we started off strong. Like I don't. I'm pretty sure we didn't get a pistol. We were very bad at pistols at this event, and that's something we've been focusing on a lot because um, we'd go like 0 and 4 for pistols and BO3s at this event. Like it was very rough, but I just don't think we started off well on CT side at all to get any economy rolling. Like we lose first gun round, we're done. You have to save twice. I don't really remember anything specifically on playing mouse supports and CT sides, other than it just didn't go well, I guess.
Right. So I did want to bring up this one point, and I hope that like you don't take this personally or anything like that. But this is something that I think I've mentioned to you like privately before. But a question about just like Nitro and Elige. It seems like one game they're hot, one game they're completely off, and this dates back even like ESWC 2015. They had their hot games
Hmm.
early on before you played Cloud9 and the Cologne qualifiers. They didn't have as much impact whenever you played CLG and like the semifinals of that event. You look at the last CEVO finals, they would have some good maps, but then some maps, like against Mouse at that even event, it just didn't look right. Is this something that you guys like note? Like, is there something going on that that causes them to struggle a bit to be consistent? Is it just the position that they play since they're entry fraggers? It's more difficult to be consistent. Like, is that a thing, or am I just reading too much into it here?
I think it's gonna come. I think it's only gonna improve from here. And I think it's it's just gonna get better the more we play together as a team, the longer we stay together, so people get more comfortable. And I think it also becomes like has to do something with experience, right? So the more comfortable they are on LAN, like we've been playing a lot more LAN events now, and we've been playing the same spots, the same roster now for quite a while. So I think the consistency is going to go up, and especially with Hiko on the team now as like a solid fragger that's always going to perform on LAN. I think it takes also less stress away from, Nick and John having to frag out super heavy for us to win, right? We
Right.
can rely more on our team play and coordination other than like we need Nick to run out and we need you to get 3 frags this round, right?
Right. I get
So
what you're
I,
saying.
I hope that they have less stress on their shoulders just because we've been playing together more. We're way more comfortable on land now, the whole roster as a team. So I think it's going to improve. It's not anything we're worried about.
Right. I think one of the things that kind of happened, it seemed like, especially with Nitro, his role just changed so often. And I don't know if it was, via his, I want to do this now, or if it was just like,
Mhm.
we need you to do this. But I mean, he went from entry fragging to being more of a passive rifler, where Lee started entering. Then he went to like even opping for a little bit, and now he's back to an entry fragging role. Do you think you finally have everyone where they need to be? I mean, that was one of the arguments I made in my vlog about you guys previewing for Cluj, was that I think everyone is where they need to be now, as far as the role that they play within the team. I mean, do you feel that way, or do you see like, oh, we could maybe even optimize the team more if we did this, or what do you think about like roles, I guess, with the team right now?
Yeah, I think the roles right now are like the best they've ever been, right? And I think when it was Nick just changing his mind in terms of like what he wanted to actually provide to the team, right? So there was one point where John was like our main entry, and Nick was like more like the like a little bit more passive, okay, kind of behind John, cleaning up. And then yeah, we did try him opping for once. I think he was just trying to find like what would best benefit the team, you know?
Yeah, of
So
course.
I think actually like it worked out well because like Nick knows what he wants to do now. He knows he wants to be aggro and just entry and open up sites for us. But yeah, I think the roles are the best they've ever been for us. And they're very clear cut. And that makes entering bomb sites way easier. Like before, when John was our main entry and Nick was like kind of in this role where he didn't know what he was doing, I guess.
All right.
Um, I hate calling and have to tell people what to do. So I'm like, John, entry. John, I need you to entry. Like I'd have to like kind of force John to entry. And now it's a lot more cleaner. Like if we walk into a bomb site, John and Nick will naturally go first, and I don't have to like be a dick about it and force them to go. Everyone's a lot more comfortable in what they're doing. So I think
Yeah.
that just makes them play at ease now,
Right. So I'm gonna just wrap up as far as like results and events go for you guys by talking about the PGL Finals. We obviously know that lately in the NA scene you've looked really, really hot. Maybe we'll touch on that in just a second. But here at the PGL Finals, you guys played Virtus Pro. First map was Overpass. It was a 14-16 game. Very, very close game overall. You almost made the comeback on the CT side. It just didn't quite have it. You had pretty good game too for most of
Sorry,
your
what was
players.
this?
Talking about Overpass versus Virtus Pro at the PGL Finals.
Okay, okay. Yeah.
So we're talking about that event now. Very close game, 14-16. Anything you want to say about this game? I mean, I think you got 5 rounds on the T side first half. Started off slow in the second half, made a bit of a comeback, but just couldn't quite close the gap. Any thoughts on this particular series against Virtus Pro at PGL?
Um, yeah, we started off super well on our CT side. I think at one point it was like 7-1 or 7-0, and then it finally slipped. And I think, man, I'd have to watch this match again, but I think it was because our B defense was very like they only had like one type of setup, right?
Play
Um,
behind smokes and retake?
right. And
Okay.
I don't think like now we have way more setups. We've gone over this because the next time we played Overpass at the LAN, I think it was versus Fnatic,
Yeah.
and they knew we were retaking and we weren't playing Monster close up, right? So we need to be able to play the retake, play in the pit, play barrels in pit or graffiti and play passive, have that as a viable setup. But we also need like a close setup where we're destroying people running through a smoke, going through Monster, right?
Mm.
So that was one of the big lessons we took from that, and trying to get more CT side setups so we can be unpredictable And we can't just give Monster every round and let them freely run out there and, take the site. So I think that was the big lesson learned on Overpass is we needed more setups. And actually, it was kind of awkward. John and Spencer for some reason switched roles in that match, and like John was like the main anchor, and this was like unplanned. This kind of just happened, and they were both kind of uncomfortable. It was kind of like an unnatural behold, and it worked super well for the first couple hits. But once VP figured out what they were doing, I don't think we changed our setup enough and gave them enough looks.
Right. So on Mirage, it didn't really go well at all. The only reason why I wanted to bring up Mirage against Virtus Pro is because it almost seemed like you almost like relapse in the sense that in the past you guys like due to at least what I always theorize like due to the youth of the team, the inexperience of the team, more prone to making mistakes, right? More prone to making just sloppy plays. And in this particular game, there were so many times you started on CT side first where you would get into a numbers advantage on retaking a site and then something would just break down and then the round was over, and before you knew it, I think you were down like 7-0 or 8-0 or something like that. I mean, what do you think happened here on this second map versus Virtus Pro? Like, why do you think you struggled so much to close out rounds even when you had an advantage?
Yeah, so like all Counter-Strike is like minimizing your mistakes, right? And when you're playing VP, like you can't have any mistakes, and they're gonna any mistake that you make, they're gonna capitalize on. So it really comes down to playing smart. And I remember that we tried fighting their mid control on our CT side, and they just absolutely slaughtered us. And every time we tried mid controlling, it was super sloppy from us, and we didn't trade effectively. So I think once again we got off on a really bad start. First gun round was the round we tried challenging mid and really like asserting our dominance, controlling middle, and they absolutely slaughtered us at it. And from there, they had middle control for a while just because we couldn't contest for it, which gave them too many avenues for splitting us. And yeah, they had full control of that match for sure.
Gotcha. So now we'll move on to the last series you played in the event, which is whenever you played against Fnatic. The first map in this was actually Cash, where, again, you were able to put up 6 rounds in the first half on Terra's side. So, again, like, your T sides have always been pretty decent on Cash. They're either, like, out of control, like double digits, or you're at least putting up, like, a respectable number, like 6 rounds, so to speak, against Fnatic here. But then on CT side, you really just kind of struggle and you lose the map in the end. Any thoughts on this particular match against Fnatic here on Cash that you feel were kind of key points or anything?
Nothing that I remember. It's just so much. It's just so different playing like a number like a tier one team on CT side, like and they're attacking you as the terrorist. It's just so different how better their coordination is, how better their takes are, what their timing's like. So yeah, that's all about that.
Right. So then you go on to play Cobble, where you start on CT side first, struggle a bit. You only get 5 rounds, but then I mean on T side it's just ridiculous. Like I mean everyone's just on their game. Like Nitro been playing good on the CT side even, but Elise was kind of quiet. Elise just like flips a switch and he's on in the second half. Nitro's still playing well. Everyone's putting in the numbers basically on Cobble here. What do you think was kind of the key to success to taking this map off of Fnatic at this event?
I feel like everyone on our team loves Cobble right now, and it fits our playstyle so well, and allows our fraggers to just be comfortable and go out and kill people. Right now, I say like we're really sick at trade killing and opening up rounds, and just the way Cobble works right now, like we're like that's how you win on Cobble, right? You go out, get an entry frag, and you're tight enough but also giving your player some space to make plays and also just like being really good at trade killing. And we kind of just abused like what was working against Fnatic, and we really didn't even need to change too much. I'm not sure we went A one time against Fnatic, um, but yeah, we just kept abusing B on them.
Right. Now you wound up losing Overpass against them to lose the series. Again, you kind of had a slow start on your CT. You went down 0-7 before you finally scored some rounds, and then you lost Pistol second half, and it was pretty much over. The only reason why I bring this up is because I felt like watching this event, and even a little bit when it came to the Cluj qualifiers to just a small degree, but really here in the PGL Finals, it seems like there was so many instances where you guys would get off to like a really slow start, but then you had this really good ability to come back, which
Mm-hmm.
that's good that you can make the comeback like when you need to,
Right.
but it just makes it harder on yourselves, right? I mean, do you guys
Yeah.
notice this problem of having a slow start? I mean, is there anything to this, or am I reading too much into it?
No, definitely. I mean, there was so many times. I mean, when you're playing tier one teams, you can't start off 5-0 down, 7-0 down every time, right? Like, you can't always mount a huge comeback. And yeah, like I said, like our pistols have been one of our main focus points in trying to start off well. So that's something we've definitely looked into, and I think we've definitely improved our pistols, like both on both sides. So I hope we can improve and get better starts for sure.
Roger that. So now we're just going to get into some more like general points about your team going into Cluj. I think we've already talked about pretty much all your results. Well, no, I guess I will ask one question really quick about results. You guys have been now in recent times been able to beat Cloud9 twice, which first time was on Inferno, which I guess is like a weaker map for both teams. So I
Right.
didn't really read too much into that one. But then you guys had a pretty successful game against them on Cobble. And again, like I know you said that Cobble's been a map you've been favoring a lot recently, but Cobble's been a big map for Cloud9 at times too. I mean, they had their win against Fnatic on it as well. Several months ago, back when they were having their second place
Yeah.
run. So that's a map that I feel they're also pretty good on. So I felt it was a pretty even matchup as far as like map strength. But you were able to win there. I mean, what do you think has allowed you guys to be beating a team like Cloud9, where it seemed like many teams struggle to do that? At least in the NA
Um,
scene, obviously.
I'm not gonna read into it too much right now. This upcoming month is gonna be insane for NACS, so we can talk about like who's better after this month, I think, which is all the events on land, what's their iBuyPower, RGN, possibly IEM for us, depending on how we place. All these events. So I'm not gonna read into it too much. I'm glad we beat them. It always feels nice beating them, you know. But yeah, our first match actually, ESCA's system for maps is very shitty. Like you don't get the veto at all. So we played Cloud9 first on Dust 2, which is like a map they love and a map we don't very much like. We actually took them into overtime with like a huge comeback. And then yeah, Inferno, neither one of us like too much. I mean, we're starting to like it a little bit more, but um, not that much to look into, I don't think, on that. And then Cobble, on Cobble, I felt like they tried to anti-strat us and hit A a lot because there's sometimes where I do like to play 4B, and I think recently I've been helping Spencer a lot more on the A site because people know that Spencer's been playing solo, and they just ran into halls and ran to middle like so freely, and I would just get so many free frags because they didn't expect me to be there also.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not gonna look into it too much.
Right. I got you. I think that's really been one of the key strengths that you've talked about is your ability to have like I mean you have Hiko and Fugly who are arguably some of the best side anchors we have in the NA scene right now. And it just opens, like you said, you guys up to have so much more freedom on CT. And like again, like
Yeah.
Nitro's shaping up to make a shot at being the best entry fragger in North America at this point. I feel like so. I feel like you have a lot of tools there. But out of all the things that we could talk about as far as like what you have going for you right now on the team, we mentioned a couple, the side anchors of Fugly and Hiko, the entry fragging of Nitro. What do you think has been the biggest key to success that you've had recently, at least within the NA scene and even a little bit overseas? I mean, what do you think's been the biggest reason for that?
The biggest reason?
Yeah, what would you think is like the key, like the
I think it's just a bunch of tiny things coming together, really.
okay. So like
I
basically some of
think,
the things I just mentioned. What would you
yeah,
add
I
to
think it's
it?
what we talked about, just like everyone feeling good in their roles being one. I think Spencer coming into the team is another. James helping us a lot, coach wise, helping, the younger guys and even CT side setups. So James helps a lot in that respect. And yeah, I think it's just tons of little things just finally coming together.
Right, I got you. We'll talk about you actually individually really quick. We all know the joke now. I think at this point that the difference between you and a decoy grenade is just money. That was something that was tossed around, right?
Yeah. That guy.
Let's be real honest though, really quick. It seemed as though nowadays, like when you look at PGL, when you look at DreamHack Open Stockholm, when you look at some of the recent NA results that you've had with the different tournaments you've played in, and just league stuff, you have looked
Right.
better individually. Like
I don't think Thorin has ever watched me play besides getting like 16-1 by Nip at like Gfinity, right?
you also got ripped
So
by Nip a couple other times, like at
yeah.
ESWC
So I think
and
that's the only
Fnatic.
time
Yeah,
Thorin has ever seen me play ever. So
it's when you're
I
getting ripped
mean,
by Nip and Fnatic for a
he's
couple
never
of times.
watched me play any other time. Yeah.
No,
So
but even that all
whatever. It's
aside, I
okay.
think you still have to note that your individual performance has looked better lately.
Sure. Yeah.
Uh, okay, so you'd even admit that. You're like, sure, yeah, man. So why do you think that is? Like, why do you think you're doing better now than what you did before? Is it just because the team functions so much better now that it's allowed you
I
to
think that
be
yeah.
better, or what? Because here's the thing I've noted. Like, the way you and Hiko play late round situations is ridiculous. Like, when you guys are in a 2vx, I almost think that you're going to
I
win it every
love being
single
in the
time.
late round situations just because I know what to do, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's way better for the young fraggers that have the aim to open up the site. And then all the late round decisions, like I said, like Counter-Strike's all about not doing mistakes. And I feel like me and Spencer play those very well. So,
Right. Also, just your opping has looked better recently, and the reason why I bring this up is because I know that, or you said on a couple of different occasions that you felt like you really struggled to be able to do both, to be able to in-game lead and op at the same time. You didn't like it, which is why you even experimented with nitro opping in the first place, was so that you could
right.
focus on just doing
Yeah,
one role.
exactly.
Obviously, you're back to opping and in-game leading now. So what's different now with doing those two roles at the same time as opposed to the past when you didn't really like it so much?
I mean, I still don't prefer it. Like, I'd rather just do one, but it is what it is. I juggle it, but I think now I mean, it is easier now for sure. I'm not babysitting as much with these guys. I think they know what to do when I call shit from spawn. Um, they provide me with info, and then I, select the strat or how we should execute the round. When before I was doing so much babysitting, so like one of the things James even tried helping us with was trying to make everyone their own leader, right? So I don't have to be like, hey, John, Fugly, don't do that. No, 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 no. And this whole time I'm trying to like hold everyone's hand while I'm also trying to op someone, right? It's just it's impossible. So I've given everyone more leash, I guess. I've letting them off the leash, letting them make mistakes themselves so they know what they can and cannot do. And that's one of the things James helped with for sure. And everything's just a little bit more comfortable than it used to be back in the day.
Yeah, so you've already brought up James a couple of times, and one of the questions I did want to get to here was just talking about the influence of coaching on the team. I know you had Demoed at one time. Before that, you had
Mhm.
Warden. Now you have GB James. Um, I hear he likes to be called that instead of just James. He likes to be called GB James. That's what I've heard, so I'll give him the
Yeah.
respect. I mean, what? I mean, I've heard different things with this guy. I can't tell. I think sometimes you even tell me he's trolling me. Like I've heard at different times that he's just kind of more of, more of like the classic idea of what you think a coach would be. He's kind of in the background, but every now and then he comes out and says something, or he helps more with prep. Whereas live matches, he leaves it up to you to lead. But I've also heard different times where he's like actually called strats for you guys or something like that. So can you explain to me what is James's actual role as a coach on this team? As far as like what he does, because it seems like he does different things. I'm just curious to know like what he actually does and how you think it influences your team.
No, he does like a bunch of different things, right? Like he
Okay.
comes to practice with stuff that he's seen other teams do, right? He's like, hey, I think we can incorporate this into our game. Like, I'm going to show you this strat. Like, this is how they approach this round, and this is why. So he brings, I guess, strategy and just overall theory to what we're doing. He obviously tries to improve on what we're doing. Like, when we're scrimming, he'll provide like live feedback on like what someone should have done or like what we could have done better. So obviously like feedback stuff like that. And there has been some matches uh where we've had him just straight up call just to get a grasp on like how James likes to call, what he thinks of the game, how he wants to approach the game, and that's in like matches that aren't as serious. So we're just kind of like practicing and just for practice, I guess, just to let him call. But yeah, he does a lot for us, and
Hmm.
Mhm.
So I do have one question here, and I think I might have rustled James's Jimmy's on Twitter with this remark I made, and so I just wanted to bring it up because I wanted to kind of get an idea. Is the point is I brought up that like why isn't he there? In the case that I didn't see him with you at DreamHack Open Stockholm or at PGL.
Right, that's the only downfall with James right now is that he does have a full-time job and he can't go to every event, right? So
I mean, is he going to be with you guys at the major? Because that seems like that.
he will.
Okay.
He will. Yes.
I mean, from what he
But-
told me, he was slowly trying to transition from that job to like full-time coaching.
Right.
I mean, is that something that is happening now, or?
Yeah, definitely. He's trying to find like ways to make it happen, right? So he wants CS to get even bigger so that he can quit his job and be a full-time coach and come to all the events because obviously that's what we'd like, right?
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, he's coming to the major with us, but none of the other events in Ohio, MLG or CEVO, since it's so close, right? But none of the other events this year.
Gotcha. So I just have a couple of questions left before we're done with this thing, because I promised it wouldn't take 2 hours. So first off, I would ask, like, how have your preparations been for Cluj, do you think? I mean, this is obviously a big event. I know you're not getting to do, like, a boot camp or anything in Europe, but how has preparation been going for you guys for this major, do you think?
Honestly, it's so busy every night with matches that you can't really practice too much. This week has been a little bit slower, but, like, when we came back from, like, the qualifier, whatnot, 2 weeks in Europe after PGL as well, we were playing like 4 or 5 matches a night for an entire week to make up all those matches, right? So we've been just grinding CS and just playing a shit ton, which I think is going to help us. And obviously trying to go over like our weaker maps so that we have a really good map pool for this veto process coming up. So that's been something we've been focusing on more so like before we start scrimming for the night, is going over maps that we haven't been playing much and trying to improve those maps in case they get selected. But that's been the main focus. Since we've had so much practice on the other maps, we've been playing a lot.
Right.
Just every night before we start, we go over the maps that we haven't been playing.
I got you. So, I guess, and this is going to be, like, ignorant on my part, right? So, like, take this with a grain of salt while I try to, like, figure this out. It's like, first of all, I guess we'll start out this way, right? Is like I think a struggle that your team has that I brought up before, and maybe it's like no one's real fault, is that some of you are full time and some of you aren't. In the sense that you had 2 people on your team that go to college, and so they have constraints that you, Fugly, and Hiko do not have. I mean, how do you balance that? Like, how do you work around that? And because I know it can be a struggle. You know, how have you been able to handle it?
So that's something we've been talking about a lot lately, and it's like a super tough scenario that John and Nick are in. And yeah, like at PGL, so after the major qualifier, 3 of us flew to the Netherlands where TL's like house is, like they have a gaming house or apartment, and then John and Nick flew back to the States. So the period between when we qualified for the major and we went to PGL land, we didn't play Counter-Strike together one single time before PGL, just because John and Nick need to go back and take midterms and go to college and attend their classes so they wouldn't get, like, Fs or whatever. So, yeah, like, that right there shows the issue it is, like, of how you need to be full-time to play CS. And I think, honestly, Nick for sure, and they both have scholarships, so if they go part-time or they stop, they lose their scholarships. So it's not like they can even just do a couple online classes and keep their scholarships. They'll lose everything. Nick is a little bit deeper into his college years. He only has like 1 year left, roughly. So I think Nick is actually going to go full-time CS or maybe just do online school. I really think Nick's going to go full-time. John's in a little bit of a tougher spot. This is his first semester in college, and he has a really awesome scholarship for doing well in high school, being like the valedictorian or whatever. So yeah, he's in a tougher boat. So we're working well with him, but I'm not sure like what his decision is going to be. But hopefully, 4 of us are definitely full time next seasons.
Right. I think because, I mean, like, obviously that's a huge issue, the one you just brought up, where some of you are staying in Europe. Because that could have been a perfect boot camp opportunity, right?
Right.
Like
it would
if
have
all
been
5
awesome.
of you
We're
could have
in
been
Europe.
there. Yeah.
Would have been amazing.
And you miss out on that. And obviously, like, it even hurts you being able to, like, boot camp for this event had you wanted to, because it takes up too much time. And so, yeah, I mean that definitely
Yeah.
seems to be something that that would be great if y'all could figure that out. I understand like John's situation though. Like to give up a free ride is pretty
Right,
rough,
it's
right?
tough.
It has to be
And
worth
I mean,
it.
I guess some of the TSM guys were in college, right?
Yeah, yeah, same
And
situation for them.
they just graduated. So I mean,
Hmm.
if TSM's doing it, John can obviously do it.
Right,
Traveling obviously to Europe from NA is way crazier, but uh, I think we'll live with John.
right. So, a couple of the final questions I'll have here is first off, obviously, like 2016 has like been uh, seen as possibly a really huge year with like the TV league with Turner and all these different conglomerates that apparently might happen with some of the different leagues kind of coming together and like bigger events on the horizon. I mean, what are your thoughts on the future of CS like going into next year? I mean, what do you think? What are you concerned about? What are you excited about? You know?
I definitely think 2016 will be a massive year for CS. It'll be way bigger than this year for sure. Um, One thing that I'm worried about is that the scene gets too oversaturated. And what I mean by that, I guess, is like there's too many matches and it just makes those matches useless. You know, if we're playing Cloud9 every single night, when we play Cloud9, it's just way less, I don't know what I'm looking for. It's way less important because hey, we're gonna just face them tomorrow night, right? Or when like if TSM and Fnatic play like every day online, those matches just become so boring because they happen so often. So I think there actually needs to be like, um, and I'm not saying we need like an exclusive league like ESL like wants to do or like, rumors to do, right? Which would actually limit the games and provide like less games, but I guess more entertaining games. But that's one thing I hope that doesn't happen is there's just so many leagues right now. We have to say like no to some leagues and some teams like Cloud9. I don't think they play in like any of the leagues that like some of the other NA teams are
All they
doing.
play
Like,
is ESCA.
yeah, they didn't play in CEVO this
Well, I guess
time.
they play and face it too.
They're not playing in Star Series. They, what's the other one? RGN, we didn't even play in this time. Uh, so there's like a bunch. There's just too much going on right now. We almost need to condense it
Right.
and just make sure it doesn't come oversaturated. But 2016 will be crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's like everyone sees it, but like the companies that are running these events have to have daily coverage to make money. Like, I mean, that's just the bottom
Right.
line.
Exactly. It's not like they're gonna be like,
Yeah.
okay, we don't want to oversaturate.
Yeah,
We're
yeah,
gonna
yeah, of
just stop.
course. No, it's
Right.
about, and then everyone has to step up their stuff too. I
And
mean,
the weird thing too is about like the exclusive leagues or teams or leagues might do it or whatever, but like you gotta look at it from their perspective. If they don't do it, someone else is going to, right? Like if ESL doesn't do it, then what if someone else actually does it and then ESL's like, well, fuck.
yeah, I don't know. I think that's
I
just
don't
all
know.
about team and player choice. Or I don't know how much power
Yeah.
players even have in that. I mean, with this whole team
Well, I
union
guess it
thing.
is the org's choices.
Yeah,
Like if they come together and be like, hey, we don't want an exclusive league, that would definitely work, right? So
yeah.
I don't know.
It's maybe about plateauing yourself before the wave is even finished. You know what I mean? Like if you
Mhm.
choose to go exclusive now, what's not to say that there's a better deal as fast as this game is growing a couple of months
Right.
down the line. So you kind of
Should be.
you plateaued yourself before you needed to, so to speak. I don't know. There's all kinds of
There's
ways you
so
could
much
debate
to
that.
it. Yeah.
Um,
I don't know.
the other, yeah, we kind of I think touched on as much as we can without having like an hour long conversation about the future of
Right.
CS. But my other and I guess like final real question here would be, um, obviously we had some huge updates to the game recently with the hitboxes and all that stuff, which everyone
Mhm.
seems to have kind of been happy about. The whole M4 thing, mixed reviews about that, right?
Yeah.
What do you think are some of the key things that still need to be changed or fixed in the game in order to get it to its like optimal level or whatever?
Um, I would still nerf the pistols, not the Glock or USP, but the 5.7, the Tech 9, the P250. I would still nerf these guns, and maybe just in terms of like running accuracy, right? Because I still think pistols are too overpowered in this game and have been since the start of CS:GO. That's like the only thing I can think of right now, honestly. The jumping scout, you can still jump with it, but it's not that big of a deal that you can actually hit people now. So like, that's one of the most satisfying things right now in CS is just shooting a jumping scout. But
I think you're right. Like now you can at least punish it, but the problem is like the biggest example I think is if you're planting the bomb on Dust 2 Plat on A, and people are jump shooting you, you can't respond because you're planning
with
it.
any gun,
Yeah,
with
exactly,
any gun, it's way too
exactly.
accurate that you can jump and shoot an M4. Like that makes no sense. Yeah. I
Uh,
think
that
I
that's
talked
been
about this
my
in one of the
biggest
older
beef.
videos too. Yeah, it's like I think the spread when you jump with like an M4 AK should almost be double the size of what it is right now.
Yeah, I feel like you should have no chance to hit that.
Right. It should be like a fucking 5% chance or something.
Yeah,
Like now
yeah.
it's so often like you want to jump to kill the plant. Or like if you don't, you're just
That's
giving the
people's
plant.
first initial reaction to me
Right.
taking the side is to try to jump
Yeah.
and stop them
Like
from
I'm
planting
gonna
the
jump
bomb.
off even.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
nothing
that
else
needs
you
to
can think
change
of
for
though
sure.
besides those things we just talked about.
Yeah, nerf the pistols just a tiny bit because we don't want to go like too hard like Valve does. Like I would, if I nerf the pistols, I would do it gradually, like slowly nerf the pistols down just to see how big of a difference it really is gonna make, right?
Hmm.
Um,
I mean, I
and then yeah,
guess
jumping accuracy could definitely be nerfed. I think that would help.
let's talk about the M4 thing then really quick, right? Because that's another thing that happened with that hitbox update,
Yeah,
and people have had mixed reviews about how they feel about it. What are your thoughts on the whole M4 situation right
I
now?
honestly think it needs like a little bit more time to pan out. Actually, I'm seeing like some pro teams starting to use the A1 more. So I'm not sure yet. I haven't even like really thought about it too much, but I've been using the A4. I was using the A1 still for a little bit because I do play middle on a lot of the maps and a lot of long range spots that I really don't need the 30 bullets. I just need accuracy. So I honestly think, I mean, obviously the A1 was overpowered, right? It really was overpowered. So I think it did need some kind of nerf, but I'm not sure like what I would do right now. I think it does need a little bit more time to pan out. Why? What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. I think people almost took for granted how much silence helped, like being a silence gun
It
helped.
was stupid that like literally everyone was using the A1, right? It was
Yeah.
stupid. Like no one would choose the A4 in their right mind.
I mean, just because I watch a lot of games as a commentator, and you almost took for granted like getting the jump on someone with the silenced M4, like being able to shoot them from behind, and then
Yeah,
that because that couple of seconds it takes them to realize where they're getting shot from could
it's the
mean the
laser
difference
beam.
between one kill and two.
Oh,
Whereas when
for
someone's
that
running
too.
around with an
Yeah,
A4, it's very, very immediate where you know where that thing's coming from.
exactly. Yeah.
So I think people almost took that factor of the two M4s for granted,
Mhm.
like how important that really can be in many situations. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think both guns do have their place now, so to speak. Like I think situationally, it'd be better
Yeah.
if you could
I
swap
think if
them.
they're, yeah, I would say just make them both available.
Yeah, or that. I think
That
that
make it so much more like I don't know, like tactically, like what kind of setup are you gonna do this round on CT? Are you gonna be like a passive bitch and use a silencer, or are you gonna like rush something by the 30 bullet one, right?
yeah, of course. I think that would be cool if they were both on the menu. The
Just
only
something.
thing is what do you do? Do you
That.
just increase the menu size, or are you gonna have to swap out a gun to put both M4s on the board?
Right. Yeah.
That
I don't know.
because there's nothing even like on the CT side. There's nothing
Hey,
even.
then people would need two good M4 skins, right? They're
Yeah. I mean, what
uh,
would you even swap? Like the FAMAS was too far off in price. Would you swap out an AUG for to have both M4s? Like I don't know how you would do it.
oh yeah.
Um,
If that was an option, people would just get rid of the AUG and put both M4s in instantly, I think.
yeah, probably. And they're close enough in price to where you could make
They're
that.
exactly the same now, yeah.
So I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's something to
Yeah.
possibly think about.
I
Anyway,
think it does need a little bit more time, but I think it has made the game a little more T-sided for now, just
hmm
because the A1 used to be so OP. But did I say T-sided?
yeah, it's T-sided, more
Yeah.
T-sided
I
now
think
than it
the
used to
game's
be.
been a little bit more T-sided lately.
I got you. I think you've had some people kind of say something similar, especially on certain maps like Cobble has definitely taken a sway towards the
Hmm.
terrorist side more and more. I think it's
Yeah.
always been pretty T-sided in the NA scene, to be honest.
Yeah, it has.
But
Yeah.
even internationally, it's begun to creep towards that direction for the last few months, more so than in the past, right? So I think that's a good point. Other than that, man, do you have any final thoughts, comments, anything like that before we end the interview here, bruh?
No. I mean, I guess we didn't talk about the major too much coming up, but
Yeah, wow, that's bad. The reason why is because when I structured this interview, this was before the groups got announced.
Okay,
So,
okay.
like, when I interviewed Hayes, for example, we didn't even know what the groups were going to be.
Oh, really? Oh, shit, okay.
So we didn't even get to talk
Let's just
about
give
it.
a little thing.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's just
do
get like
it.
10 minutes real quick.
Yeah. I
So
like it.
let's actually just start off predictions. Group
Okay.
A, year 2, go.
Fnatic and Cloud9.
Fnatic, Cloud9 too.
Wait, are they redrawing groups? Because that's
No, they aren't.
They aren't. So you're just gonna ride it out.
I actually like that.
That you're not.
I thought that was a
reshuffling
good
groups?
idea that you couldn't like that you wouldn't know who you're gonna play if you happen to go through like that deep of the lower bracket or whatever, right?
Kills your prep though too. So there's
Yeah,
pros and
but
cons
then
to
the
it.
best team wins. I don't know.
Depends on how you
I like
judge the
that
best
idea.
team. The best team is the one who can prep well and
That's-
win, or the one who can just
that's
win no
true.
matter what. Like,
That's
right?
both
Like
ways.
it's a
Yeah,
different
yeah.
it's a different scale of how you judge if someone's better or not. I
Yeah.
guess. So yeah, I would take Fnatic and Cloud9 here out of Group
Yeah,
A.
I can't see LG coming through. I mean, they've had good major performances, but I honestly I don't see it right now. I'd be surprised if they beat Cloud9.
Yeah.
They could maybe beat them in the best of 1 to start off the
Well, let's
group,
think about
right?
how that would work, right? Like, so if we had vetoes, like, Cloud9's getting rid of Mirage and Inferno, like, those are never getting played. Whenever they had the ability to get rid of both, which you either get what, 3?
LG likes like Cloud9 and us like the same maps, and LG likes the same maps too. So I think they'll play like Overpass, or even
Yeah, because I see
play Overpass or Cobble.
it depends on who gets 3 vetoes and who doesn't, right? Because you kind of either get 3 vetoes or you get to choose the side.
Yeah.
But either way, like, Mirage and Inferno definitely aren't getting played. Luminosities should ban Cash, like that shouldn't even be a thing. So
Yeah, Cobble.
Cobble or
Overpass.
Overpass is probably what gets played here.
Yeah.
Um,
And I think LG could win in a BO1, but like if they re-met through the lower bracket for the big BO3,
yeah.
I think you'd have to favor Cloud9.
I think Cloud9 does have a deeper map pool. Like, the only bad thing is they probably would have to play Luminosity on either Inferno or Mirage in that series, which, like, could be a loss there.
I don't think LG's that good on Inferno for them to be worried, though. Like, Cloud9's good on Inferno, right?
Their CT side's gotten much better, like, that's for sure.
But, yeah. I don't think it's anything to be scared about if you're a Cloud9 fan.
Right, yeah. So, I mean, I think Fnatic and Cloud9 are kind of the two. I think
Yeah.
Cloud9, Skadoodle finally gets his playoffs in a major, I think, this time around. He deserves it, man.
He's like a Jinx, man.
Right. So then we'll move on to Group B. I think TSM's a clear favorite, right? Like, I don't even think we need to debate that too much.
Yeah.
But G2, Mouse Sports, and Flipside, this is actually pretty interesting to me.
Those three are so close together, I feel like. I'm going with Mouse Sports, though.
Same here. That's what I picked on my little pick'em challenge. I picked Mouse Sports to come
Like,
out.
Flipside did not impress me at all at the qualifiers.
Mm-hmm.
Like, with CLG crushing them, and then Flipside having who did they play
What's
to
that?
qualify, actually? Who did Flipside actually have to beat to qualify for the major?
That's a good question. I'm trying to think. Give me just a second here. I gotta, like...
Wait, it was CLG, Flipside. Oh, I know this.
Wasn't it something silly? Like, I know they lost to CLG.
They did, yeah, 2-0.
God, who was it?
I don't know.
This is making me
But I
mad.
feel like Mouse Sports against Flipside, Mouse Sports will take
Wasn't
that.
it like...
And G2,
It was
I don't know if
whoever... It was like whoever Jacob was playing with before he played now with G2. It was that team. I'm not sure who that was. Was it like Copenhagen Wolves or SK? It wasn't SK. Was it like... It was either like LGB or Copenhagen. I think it was Copenhagen Wolves, actually.
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to go with
that.
So... Either way, though, like, I like Mouse Sports. I think they're a pretty solid team. I think Nico has only made them better, having some more firepower on that team. I think Nex is still good, and Chris J's op has looked pretty good recently. I think it's probably going to come down to them and Gamers too in the decider. So I'm probably going to go with Mouse Sports here.
Yeah. So
Mouse
is
Sports
Gamers
decent.
2 going? Are they like all starting to be like, from the same country now?
Well, what, like two?
Before it was like Scream, and then now they're slowly
two
going
are
into like one
two are
language.
Swedes, 2 are Norwegian, and
So
one
they're
is
still kind of
Portuguese.
okay. Okay. Because before, like, they were just all random, like speaking different languages.
That
like,
still probably is a problem.
The team just
right?
felt like a struggle.
Like, I
at
feel like they
first.
have to speak English to make it work.
Right. Yeah,
Still.
I don't know.
So I don't think it's gotten really any better.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know about that team. I honestly haven't watched
I
them
mean,
too
to me,
much.
they're like a wild card team that can definitely win best of ones. But I
Oh
think when
yeah,
it comes down to a best of 3
they're
situation
nuts.
against Mouse Sports, I see Mouse Sports taking that current form wise.
When I just think of the overall team, I don't know.
Right. All right. Group C. Let's talk
Fun
about.
group, fun group.
So it's VP, Nip, Titan, and Liquid. adreN, I love
Yeah,
you.
it's a tough one.
I would have
I
to
think
pick.
the way we're making out of this group is to beat VP in a BO1 and to beat the next team in a BO1. That's what I'm going for.
Yeah.
No BO3s versus Nipper VP or anything like that.
Yeah. Okay. So my boy adreN, listen, man, I can't see you guys winning a best of 3 against Virtus Pro.
Well, I think VP will go, like.
I'm just talking about the
I don't
scenarios
think
where
they'll
you.
be in the lower bracket though. Like,
Yeah,
think
yeah.
about it.
I think they make it out first.
I think VP is clearly like the favorite here. Like,
Don't
they've
you
been
play
playing
them
very
in the first
well.
best of 1 like right off the bat?
Yeah, we
right?
play them first for the BO1.
Yeah, dude. That's a rough life. I mean, you get a lot of bans, but their map pool is pretty heavy.
Yeah, yeah. They have
I almost know what map you guys are probably gonna play.
I have a good idea.
I have a very good idea as well what
Yeah.
map's gonna have getting played there.
I'm like 99%.
I'm about
Every video I
95%
go into
sure.
that know what map I'm playing.
I got you. Yeah, I won't say it on the interview, but I'll ask you after the interview's over to see if I'm right. But
all right.
I feel pretty clear. I know what map's gonna be played
Yeah.
there. Which yeah, I think you almost have because I don't think you can win a best of 3 against VP. So your best bet's to try to win that best of 1.
Right. Yeah.
But
That's what we're going for.
I mean, if I'm honest with you, man, my favorites to make out this group are VP and Titan. Like if I'm 100% honest,
I'm not sure who I think is in better shape right now, Titan or VP or Titan or Nip.
I think
I'm
Titan's
really
in
not
better
sure.
shape.
You think so?
I think so.
Like versus like, I don't know.
I'm just feeling the Titan. I think this is their time.
Really?
I mean, it's been a while since
No,
they made
Titans
it out of
never
groups.
made it out of the groups.
Yes.
Is this actually true? I think someone said that the other day, and I was like, really? Like, I had to think about it. I was like, oh, like I don't think they've ever made it out of groups. Like Envious has, obviously.
I know
But
it's
have you ever
been
seen
a
Titan in the
while.
top
If
8?
if they have, it's been a while.
Right.
Yeah, they
So
haven't. They haven't.
Because I remember when they were Titan, and this was back when I was at the major.
Yeah, they
and
haven't.
they went out in groups with like Shocks and that, and then that's when the team split up and made like the 2 different French rosters.
Well, the sad one was when they actually got beat out by Renegades at the last major.
Really?
Yeah, this was before they like picked up screen.
Oh, just last one, and then Renegades.
Because this
swapped.
was like right after the French Shuffle happened. Basically,
I remember that. Yeah, I think it was on Mirage too.
Yeah, they had just gotten Shocks and like
That match,
it
yeah.
hadn't been so long. Because like what was it? There was only like maybe maybe less than a month between Cologne and ESWC or whatever. It was pretty cool. I think that was actually their first land together after Shocks rejoined. Maybe not. Maybe there was like one other event before that. But yeah, and then obviously like Katowice, they didn't make it out. They got beat by Penta at Katowice to not come out of that event. And then
Wait, they get beat by?
Penta at Katowice 2015. That's how they didn't get out of that one.
Okay.
And
I
then
don't think they've made out of groups, which is crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, that is very
We'll have to
true.
keep that up.
So I think that this is finally the one, man. I think this is the one for them.
All right.
But
We'll see. We'll see.
at least when you think about how they've been playing recently, but for some reason, man, like Nip just turns on during majors, right? So like,
Yeah, I'm hoping for no Nip magic.
yeah,
It's all out. They're fucking done.
yeah, dude.
That's what you gotta hope for. But yeah, they turn it on. I think because they're all older guys, to be honest, and like for them to really get the fucking drive to win online is extremely tough, right? Like another online match, la di da. So I think when they go to major, they're just so more pumped and like ready to win. I really think that's what it is for them. So
Right.
I expect them to be very strong.
Right. So Group D is our last group. That's going to be Envious, Navi, CLG, Dignitas.
That's a super tough group for CLG.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, I think Envy makes it out here probably.
I'd say they make it out no problems. Yeah.
I mean, CLG actually challenged Navi pretty well last major on Cobble. In fact, they almost won that thing. They were up for a while, and then they allowed Navi to make a comeback. So that's kind of CLG's problem, right? Like they're struggling to close games right now.
Where did they play them?
Wait, what do you mean? The
When
last
did they play
major,
them? Oh,
Cologne.
did they? Okay.
They lost on a Cabo match. Yeah, that's the match they lost. But that's CLG's big problem right now is they're struggling to close games. Like when you look at IAM's Gamecom, you look at Cologne 2015, they're getting some really
Right.
close games against top teams, but they can't. And
No,
even
yeah,
games
they
where they have
definitely.
leads, but they just can't close the game. But they've always been able to like find best of one upsets, like Fnatic
Here's the
at.
thing, though. Yeah, this is what I was actually thinking. So they play Na'Vi first, right? Because Envious plays Dig, which is
Mm-hmm,
like the bottom seed.
mm-hmm.
So they play Na'Vi first in a BO1. I think they can win that.
They
Like,
could. I
but
mean,
even if they win it, let's say even if they win it,
mm-hmm.
then they lose to Envious, and then they'd have to play a BO3 against Na'Vi, right?
Yeah, that's
So
really
unless
the
you,
problem.
that's the problem. Yeah,
They
is
have
if they want to
yet.
get out of the group,
Yeah,
they need to BO3 against one of the teams.
well, their best bet's to BO1 out, kind of like yours
That's
is, right?
us. Yeah,
Because
like that's what we want to do. Yeah.
CLG is yet to really win a big best of three. I feel like I mean, I know they had their best of three wins against CS:GO Lounge and Flipside to qualify, but arguably those teams aren't
Yeah.
like at the same level as like these elite teams we're talking about, like Navi and Envy and stuff like that. They have yet to be able to win a best of three against a team like that in their entire career. Like all their upsets have been best of ones in like groups and
Yeah.
stuff like that at different events. And that, I mean, that
It'd
dates
be
all the way back to
interesting.
January of this year, right? With the different lineup, and fast forward to today, they've always
Yeah.
kind of done
That's
that,
true.
but they don't have that big BO3 win yet. Obviously, you guys don't really either, but you guys just got together with Hiko. So, yeah, I mean, this is prove it or lose it, man. Basically,
Yeah, it's a tough one, but I could see them maybe. I don't know though. Navi's been actually pretty decent. It's like they just don't go to many events. It seems like so we don't get to see them too often, but they are doing like super well in ESEA, ESL. So
yeah, that is one point.
they're doing really good in there.
Yeah, so I mean that's kind of the way I shape my group predictions. Unfortunately, for me, the only North American I have picked through is Cloud9 on my little pick'em thing in game.
They must have paid for that group.
Man, well, I mean,
Come
like
on.
Group
They had
A.
the easiest group of their life last major, and then this is their chance. If they don't make it out this time,
Yeah, there's trouble in paradise.
I think they will though. I think they will.
Yeah, I think they should be able to have
I
this
think they
one.
got it. Yeah.
But yeah, your group is tough whenever you got Nip, Titan, and VPL on there. I think your group is probably the hardest.
Mhm.
But Group D is also a bit tough.
Group D stuff too.
Yeah. So those will be interesting, but that's kind of the way I see it playing out. But so we talked
Hey,
about who we
D
think's going to
stuff?
make it through. Who wins it? Who wins this major?
What? Who wins?
Yeah, who wins?
I'm gonna say
This is
Fnatic.
so hard, dude.
I'm gonna say Fnatic.
Like, I think this is the most competitive major we've ever had in the sense
I
that
think-
I couldn't even tell you who's going to win. Like, between TSM, Fnatic, Virtus Pro, and Envy, like, all four of those teams are playing so ridiculously well lately. Like, who really knows? Like, because, like, look, think about VP. They won Dubai. Sometimes they just come out and they just win a tournament.
Exactly.
And you're just
They're
like,
crazy
whoa.
sometimes. They're nuts. Yeah.
And then Envy definitely has the firepower and the skill to be
Ooh,
able
I
to
forgot
win
about
an event.
them. Yeah, because we haven't seen them play like TSM or Fnatic on LAN in a while, right?
I'm not
I
really
don't think
sure.
we have. I don't know. It could be Envious. I think it's Fnatic or
And
Envious.
TSM's been nuts lately, obviously.
TSM has
too.
been super nuts, but I don't know. I think maybe they peaked too early for the major win.
We'll see, man. We'll see.
So and
I
then
think,
Fnatic's actually been on a slump,
yeah.
but like I don't know.
I think this is the
I think
first
they'll be in
event.
form.
I think this is for me. I think this is just the first major. Like, despite what the actual result winds up being, right? Like, almost every major before, we had a clear favorite going into the tournament, like who we thought was
Right.
going to win. I think for this event, you really
This is
can't.
definitely the most competitive.
I think there's
Figure
four for sure contenders for the title, and then maybe a couple other teams that have a chance. But I think you have like four very clear contenders this time around. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out for sure. I'll definitely be tuned in as much as I can.
Yeah,
But anyway, I think that pretty much does it, man. Things like that. Whoops.
that is it. Thanks, man.
Yeah, no problem, dude. So guys, be sure to follow and subscribe adreN's YouTube channel for more content.
Yeah, I will link your YouTube below if
Oh,
you guys want to check
awesome.
out his other Dust's other hype episodes with like CLG. He talks about Cloud9. There's other ones. I will put his YouTube channel below as well as my social media and his social media if you want to follow him. And yeah, that's it.
All right. Peace.
All right, cool.